Imagine this. February 1959. The desolate, snow-swept Ural Mountains in the heart of the Soviet Union. A team of 9 young, experienced hikers, full of life and adventure, sets out on a challenging expedition. They are led by Igor Dyatlov, a skilled mountaineer. They are all students or graduates from the Ural Polytechnical Institute, fit, intelligent, and prepared for the harsh conditions. They plan to conquer Otorten, a mountain whose name in the local Mansi language means "don't go there," a fittingly ominous name for what was about to unfold. None of them would ever return. Their last known camp was set up on the slopes of another mountain, Kholat Shyako, or Dead Mountain. When they failed to send a telegram at their scheduled time, alarm bells started ringing. Weeks turned into a frantic search. Finally, on February 26th, searchers made a chilling discovery. Their tent, pitched on the desolate windswept slope, was found abandoned. But it wasn't just empty. It had been violently slashed open from the inside. Think about that for a second. In the middle of a freezing Siberian winter, with temperatures dropping to minus 30 degrees Celsius, something terrified these seasoned hikers so much that they cut their way out of their only shelter rather than using the door. Inside the tent, all their belongings were left behind. Their warm clothes, their boots, their food, their maps, everything an experienced hiker would know is essential for survival. They fled into the brutal, unforgiving night, woefully unprepared for the elements. The first 2 bodies were found nearly a mile away, down the slope near the edge of a forest. It was clear they had desperately tried to climb the tree, perhaps for a better vantage point, or to escape something on the ground. Their hands were torn and bloodied from the bark. The official cause of death? Hypothermia. But this was just the beginning of the mystery. A few hundred meters away, 3 more bodies were discovered, including that of the group's leader, Igor Dyatlov. They were found scattered between the cedar tree and the abandoned tent, seemingly frozen in the act of trying to return to their shelter. Dyatlov was found clutching a tree branch, his face turned towards the camp. Zinaida Kolmogoreva's body showed signs of a desperate crawl back up the hill. Rustem Slobodin had a fractured skull, though it was initially dismissed as non-fatal. Again, the official cause of death for all 3 was listed as hypothermia. It seemed like a tragic but perhaps explainable accident. A group panics, flees their tent, and succumbs to the cold. But then, everything changed. It took another 2 months after the snow began to melt for the remaining 4 hikers to be found. And what was discovered with them turned this tragedy into one of the most baffling and terrifying mysteries of the 20th century. They were found in a ravine, buried under 4 meters of snow, about 75 meters from the cedar tree. And their injuries were horrific. Nikolai Thibault Brignol had a fractured skull so severe it was comparable to the impact of a car crash. Lyudmila Dubinina and Semyon Zolotaryov had multiple broken ribs, crushed chests, injuries that the medical examiner stated could not have been caused by another human being. He compared the force required to inflict such damage to that of a high-speed collision. What's even stranger is that these devastating internal injuries had no corresponding external signs of trauma. It was as if they had been crushed by an immense, invisible force. And, perhaps most disturbingly of all, Lyudmila Dubinina was found missing her tongue, her eyes, and part of her facial tissue. Alexander Kolovatov, the 4th victim in the ravine, had no major injuries besides hypothermia. So what on earth happened on that mountain? This is where the theories begin, and they range from the logical to the truly bizarre. The initial and most widely accepted official explanation was an avalanche. The theory goes that a slab avalanche buried part of their tent, causing them to panic, cut their way out, and flee. The internal injuries could have been caused by the immense pressure of the snow. This sounds plausible, right? But there are major problems with this theory. The search team and experienced mountaineers who examined the site found no evidence of an avalanche. The tent poles were still standing, and the slope wasn't steep enough for a major slide. The hikers' own tracks leading away from the tent were clearly visible in the snow, which wouldn't be the case if an avalanche had just occurred. If it wasn't an avalanche, what else could it be? This is where we venture into darker territory. Given the Cold War era, many pointed the finger at secret Soviet military experiments. The area was known to be used for weapons testing. Could the hikers have accidentally stumbled upon a top-secret military exercise? Some theories suggest they were killed by a concussion blast from a parachute mine or some other experimental weapon. This would explain the powerful, yet externally invisible, internal injuries. It might also explain why the case was so quickly and secretively closed by the authorities. Adding fuel to this fire is another strange piece of evidence: radiation. Several of the hikers' clothing items were found to have traces of radioactive contamination. Not enough to be lethal, but significant enough to be noted in the official file. Where did this radiation come from? Was it from a weapon, or could it have a more mundane explanation? And then there are the paranormal theories. Some local Mansi people spoke of strange effratant fireballs, or orange spheres, seen in the sky around the time of the incident. Other hiking groups and even meteorological stations in the region reported similar sightings. Could the hikers have witnessed something they weren't supposed to see? Something not of this world? The UFO theory might sound far-fetched, but the lack of a clear earthly explanation has kept it alive for decades. Another fascinating and terrifying scientific theory is infrasound. This is sound at a frequency so low humans can't hear it, but it can have profound physiological and psychological effects. Certain wind conditions over specific terrain, like the dead mountain, can create a vortex that generates powerful infrasound. This can cause feelings of intense, unexplainable dread, panic, and even physical discomfort. Could a freak weather event have generated an infrasound vortex that drove the hikers mad with fear, causing them to flee their tent and succumb to the elements? It's a chilling thought that the mountain itself could have turned against them. The official investigation was closed after just a few months, with the cryptic conclusion that the hikers died as a result of a compelling natural force. The files were then classified and hidden away for decades. This vagueness and secrecy only deepened the mystery. Why would the government classify the files of a simple hiking accident? What compelling natural force were they referring to? For over 60 years, the Dyatlov Pass incident has haunted investigators, inspired books and films, and fueled countless late-night debates. We have a set of facts that simply don't add up. Experienced hikers fleeing their shelter without boots into a blizzard. Unexplained, massive internal injuries with no external signs of a fight. Missing body parts, traces of radiation, and a government cover-up. Each piece of evidence seems to contradict the next, creating a puzzle with no solution. Was it a natural disaster, a military secret, or something beyond our understanding? Every theory you examine seems to answer one question while creating three more. It's a perfect storm of strange circumstances that has resisted all attempts at a simple explanation. The case was officially reopened in 2019, but the new conclusion still points towards an avalanche, a theory that many experts and family members of the victims still refuse to accept. The truth of what happened that terrifying night on Dead Mountain may have died with those 9 hikers. Their story serves as a chilling reminder that there are still corners of our world where the unexplained reigns, and some mysteries may never be solved. It remains one of history's most enduring and unsettling enigmas. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the Dyatlov Pass mystery. If you find these unsolved cases as fascinating as I do, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our next investigation. What do you think happened on that mountain? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video.